Car Guy Explains, Episode 2, Rotary versus Piston. What's the difference? So basically, a rotary engine it's a triangular shape. So what it is it uses this triangular shape to move the gases, fuel, and whatever it is around. So it'll come in. I don't know if you can really see it. I'll use my torch here. It doesn't want to work. So it'll have, like, I don't know if you can see that, but there's like this port here. It'll use, so air and fuel will come in through that port here, and it will suck it in this. The rotor will spin around this face. So this can happen on either face depending on what one is at this point. So at this point, this face is this face is sucking in the air and fuel. The rotor continues to rotate till it gets to here. It's making a seal, and right now it's making a seal along here. So it's sealed at this apex point and this apex point. So all of this is sealed in there. The rotor continues to spin around till we get to about here. And don't forget, these apex points, so each three of these points is always in contact with the outside of the rotor housing. So at this point, two spark plugs would fire here. It would rotate the rotor around. It's stuck. It's a 3D model, so it gets stuck easily. Rotor continues around. We get to about this point. And the exhaust gases are expanding. It wants to push the rotor around even more. So we get to about this point where the exhaust port has been opened, has been uncovered. So we've got this port here. It'll let exhaust gases out. So it'll push it through. So push it round. Do we get to here? And as you can see, there's three faces on here. So each face is going to be doing something different. So on this face, it's doing intake. This one's doing the compression, and this face is doing the exhaust. We can rotate it a bit more. This one's starting compression. This one's halfway through exhaust. And this one's halfway through power, and this face is partway through exhaust. But that's basically the rotary engine for you. I know it's a shit explanation, but it's the best I could do. The piston engine, on the other hand, is, well, yeah, a piston. Big crankshaft, connecting rod, piston. Piston comes up and down, and it makes the power. How it does this, however, is different. The crankshaft sits in the middle. We've got the piston, and the piston comes up as the crankshaft rotates, and it comes down. And above this piston is going to be two valves and one spark plug. So you'll have one valve here. Don't forget there's a crankshaft, connecting rod, and a piston. So when the crankshaft rotates, it pulls on that connecting rod, and that connecting rod is connected to the piston. It pulls it down. When the crankshaft rotates some more, it pushes on the connecting rod, which is connected to the piston, which pushes it up. So when the piston is at the top dead center, or the top of its stroke, we're going to start this here as this one is going to be a 4-stroke piston engine. It starts to come down, and one of the valves here will open, and it will allow in fuel and air. Once the piston comes to the bottom, that valve closes. The whole chamber above the piston is sealed, and there is no way for gases and fuel to escape. The piston pushes it up, compressing it. This is why this is that hard. So if you've ever kickstarted a motorbike or tried to pull start a lawnmower before and you found that hard spot, that's this bit. It's the compression stroke. Once the piston has reached that top dead and it's compressed all of that air and gas into a very, very, very tight chamber, the spark plug will fire, igniting all of that air and fuel, pushing that piston down until it gets to the bottom. Then the piston starts to rise up, and the valve on the other side, so this one's intake, this one's exhaust. The exhaust valve will open, allowing exhaust gases to escape as the piston rises again. Once all the exhaust is out, the exhaust valve closes, exhaust valve and the intake valve starts to open, and the piston comes down, letting in air and fuel. Valve closes, piston goes back up, compresses, spark plug fires, boom, piston goes back up, exhaust valve opens, exhaust gases come out, restart. That's why it's called a 4-stroke engine. Intake, compression, power, and exhaust. That's the 4 strokes of a 4-stroke engine. See ya.